Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka MBT, and we're back with another one of these videos. I never expected this to be a recurrent phenomenon on my channel, so as a result I never thought of a name for the series. If you have any good ones, let me know in the comments below. We are once again looking at a deck profile from Duel Links, this time Hero. Now Hero gets a lot of attention in Duel Links just because it so closely resembles its TCG counterpart. But unfortunately, just like its TCG counterpart, it's just a little bit not powerful enough to be represented in any meaningful capacity on the tier list. You can see that it's got just about everything you see in the TCG with one super notable exception: Dark Law. There's no Dark Law yet, and unfortunately Dark Law would be far too powerful to release in Duel Links, so this is likely as good as it's going to get, at least in the immediate future. This is a list I've used to get King of Games, but regrettably I'm not there right now. The ladder just reset a couple of days ago and I've been busy since, so you're going to have to enjoy some platinum level gameplay in the meantime. Again, I'll go through the individual cards, talk to you about the choices and the skill, and we'll watch a replay. So, like all Duel Links decks, it begins with a skill. We are playing Sealed Tombs. Now, I should note, this is not the optimal skill to play with this deck. That would be Bring It, a skill that's exclusive to Aster Phoenix and allows you to shuffle a card from your hand back into your deck to get an 8-star Dark Monster, Plasma exclusively, if you take 1,000 damage. Now, that's a drop skill, which means you have to grind for it, and I didn't want to. As a result, I'm playing Sealed Tombs, which is arguable. If your life points are lower than your opponent's by 1,000 or more, you can fire this skill. Very easy to trigger in a deck that plays 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone and doesn't really do much turn 1 except set up a pretty flimsy defensive wall. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, neither player can banish cards from the graveyard or special monsters from the graveyard. You may be noticing we're playing this in a deck with Malicious, but we can Malicious and then fire it when we're done. You don't have to activate it at the start of your turn or anything. Now, let's talk about the individual cards. We've got Destiny Hero Plasma, which we play at a single copy. That's because you only really need one. Everything in this deck is so accessible. You've got a ton of ways to search things, and as a result, if you are going to go into Plasma, you will find a way to do it. You also don't want it to clog your hand, especially if you're playing stuff like Celestial. We've got 3 copies of Vision Hero Ferris. This is the reason the deck came back in vogue. Historically, Hero has existed for a long time at high tiers of competitive play, just because Masked Hero Anki has a ton of attack and can hit directly. As a result, it was on-again, off-again playable for about 16 formats in a row before it finally dipped below the threshold of playability. Ferris is the second attempt to bring it back. Next is Elemental Hero Stratos, the card that prices most people out of the deck. This is only available in a selection box right now, which are boxes that include really powerful cards you can purchase a minimum amount of with gems. The remainder you have to actually spend money. I got very, very lucky and was able to get 3 of these with gems exclusively. The couple of times that the selection box that it is represented in was in the shop. After that is 2 copies, of Destiny Hero Malicious. You might be wondering why 2 and not 3. Well, Duel Links only offers you 2 copies of Malicious. They are available exclusively by level up reward. This is a cool way of keeping it at 2 without having to waste a slot on something like a semi-limited card. After that are the Vision Heroes. We've got 2 Vision Hero Increase and 2 copies of Vision Hero Vion. Realistically, you only want to play 1 of each of these, but if you draw it, then your entire Ferris combo is off, and in 20 cards, that's super easy to do. We're also playing 1 copy of Destiny Hero Celestial. You can bet that you're probably going to draw either Malicious or Celestial in many of your hands, and you can pitch that card to Ferris. As a result, you'll have to dump something with Vion, and Celestial is a great way to get back into the game if your opponent is able to equalize against your board state. For spells, we're playing Form Change. This is a little bit suspect, but I just love Masked Hero KoG, and you're able to go into it pretty frequently. 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, the Tremi limited card. I don't really know how to describe it. This is the 3 of that you are permitted to play under the way the Duel Links ban list works. It clears out back row. It triggers your Sealed Tombs, it triggers your Bring It if you're playing it. It's just fantastic. 3 copies of Mask Change. This is used to go into Anki or Blast, both of which have utility in different matchups. And then 1 copy of Polymerization, which is, of course, searchable by Vion and can go into Adoration or Trinity. In the extra, we've got Masked Hero KoG. This is a great way to get over really big monsters, which the deck historically has had a lot of trouble getting over. Depending on the format, I like playing this and the Form Change or not playing it. Right now, I think it's pretty good because there's still a lot of people making guys with more than 2,800 attack. Speaking of, we've got 2 copies of Masked Hero Anki. This is occasionally at 3 in people's builds, shaving the KoG, of course, or using the 7th extra deck slot to do so. It is a house. Anki can attack directly for 1400, which is not an insubstantial amount of damage, especially in a 4,000 life point format. When it blows up your opponent's monster, you get to search a mask change, so if they only have one defensive monster, you can attack, get another mask change, and hit in for 28, and of course it plays very well with itself. You are able to Anki attack, mask change, Anki attack again. We've got one copy of Masked Hero Blast. This card does come up occasionally. It's a great way to clear out back row. It's also a great way to tag out a threatened copy of Elemental Hero Stratos, and as a result, I do like playing it. We've got Vision Hero Adoration, which is usually the monster you will be polymerizing into. Just a great way to get copies of Malicious off your side of the field, spent copies of Vion off your side of the field, and put some damage on the board as well. Notably, Form Change does not need a masked hero monster. It needs a hero fusion monster. So you can Form Change from Adoration into either Masked Hero Anki or Masked Hero KoG. Finally, we've got a Vision Hero Trinity, which is a house and a half. It's super telegraphed, but you do win some games off of it. He goes up to 5,000 and hits very hard, and that is a huge liability for decks that end on very low attack monsters in attack position. Finally, we're playing one copy of Diamond Direwolf. You have basically one slot for a rank 4, and this is the one that cleans up the most messes. So let's see this deck in action. Our match is up against a Yusei player, which gives us next to no information. Yusei is usually on the Tie That Binds, which is a very good generic skill, and as a result, doesn't really tell us what they're playing. Our hand is fine. We don't really want to be going first. Second is where this deck thrives, but drawing Stratos is always a good start. We're going to get a copy of Vision Hero Ferris, which really unlocks our hand. We're able to use its effect to pitch this copy of Increase, and thankfully we are playing a second copy, so after summon we're able to activate the effect of Ferris and put an Increase in our Spell and Trap card zone. From here we can activate the effect of Increase in the Spell and Trap card zone, tributing the copy of Ferris that we just summoned in order to summon Increase, and then using Increase's effect to summon from deck a copy of Vision Hero Vion. From here we can activate Vision Hero Vion's first effect to bin a card from our deck. I like to send either Celestial or Malicious, and Malicious takes higher priority since we don't yet have it in rotation. We'll activate Vion's effect and bin that Malicious before activating its second effect, banishing the Ferris that we sent earlier, the last card that we really don't care if it's in the graveyard or not, to search a Polymerization. We're going to set a Cosmic Cyclone and pass back to our opponent. This is what most of your turn 1s look like, just walling up and hoping you don't get OTK'd. Unfortunately, it's going to be very difficult to OTK our opponent on the backswing because they are playing Aroma. Aramage is a deck that plagues my nightmares. It's got so many powerful spells and traps, and all they really need is one monster to make your life a living hell. Unfortunately for us, they have it. Aromage Rosemary isn't as bad as it could be, but it's still not fantastic. They'll activate the continuous spell Aroma Gardening in order to gain 1,000 life points, which triggers the mandatory effect of Aromage Rosemary, switching this copy of Vision Hero Vion to attack position. Afterwards, they'll activate Aroma Garden and the Tie That Binds, so that monster's attack proceeds to 2,400. They'll attack into our copy of Vion. This is not that big of a deal. It means that not only are we going to take 1,400 damage, turning on our skill should we so desire, though I don't know how effective it will be against Aromage, but also ensuring that we get to our next turn. We draw an Elemental Hero Stratos, which is maybe the best card in our deck. We can normal summon this Stratos, and instead of searching, we're going to activate its second effect in order to destroy spells and traps on the field up to the number of hero monsters we control. So our first priority is going to be that Aroma Gardening. It's an incredibly powerful comeback ability spell, which my opponent can pretty much always assure will be on with clever use of the card they just flipped. They'll add a copy of Aromage Kanaga to hand, and we'll destroy 2 cards, the Set One and the Aroma Gardening, leaving them with a Blessed Winds and the Field spell. From here, we'll go into a Polymerization, which we will activate in order to summon a copy of Vision Hero Adoration. It's no Trinity, but it should get the job done. We'll also activate the Graveyard effect of Destiny Hero Malicious in order to summon one from our deck. It'll come in handy either to procure lethal or to threaten our opponents with something like an Anki Chain. We'll then finally activate our skill Sealed Tombs so they don't get up to any funny business next turn. We'll fire off the Adoration, targeting their monster, and Cosmic Cyclone their copy of Aroma Gardening in the process, just ensuring that they don't gain life points when that Rosemary inevitably goes to the graveyard. The last remaining card on the the field is one that I'm not particularly concerned with, so we can proceed to the battle phase. I'll attack first with this copy of Adoration, and I think I sequenced the attack order just a little bit wrong here. If we had attacked with this copy of Malicious first, for example, it's possible that they wouldn't have been able to activate their trap card, but it's more funny, I think, if my opponent sees the card remaining in my hand. We'll get in for 800, and of course, they will chain the effect of their trap card to gain 500 life points, putting them very slightly over lethal. After Human Wind's effect resolves, they will be at 100, but unfortunately for my opponent, I have a copy of Form Change. I'm able to activate this Form Change and send my Elemental Hero Fusion monster to the graveyard, doesn't care if it's masked by the way, in order to go into an Anki and get in for lethal. A very satisfying end against a very frustrating deck. So that's Hero. Unfortunately, it isn't represented at high levels of play, mostly because its strategy is so linear and inflexible, its price tag is enormous, and it has an aversion to the chainable traps that pretty much everyone is playing right now. That's it for me, and until next time, keep on Lincoln. I gotta think of an outro.